Our next session is hashtag AI for Society, providing solutions for the betterment. Here, industry experts share the use cases of how AI is being deployed to crack criminal challenges, traffic, and public safety, and has helped ease public infrastructure with possible solutions, along with delving into providing the panacea for healthcare and more. The session will be moderated by Gopali, our contractor, managing director at Cloud First Advanced Technology Centers in India, Accenture. Gopali leads the asset development and technology team in the AI capability, including 5 practice areas: machine learning, natural language processing, image analytics, speech processing, and virtual agents. The speakers for the session are Ranjeet Deshmukh, founder, RoadBounce, and Atul Rai, co-founder and CEO, Staqu Technologies. Ranjeet has broad experience in software engineering and technology gained over more than 15 years and spanning various domains, including logistics, robotics, data storage, archive, and distributed processing. Atul has won the National Startup Award 2020 by the Government of India for Staqu's work in security, where it helps security agencies and police forces in catching 12,000 plus criminals and 8 terrorist modules through Jarvis. Over to you, Gopali, to take the session forward.
Thank you so much, Justin, and very happy to be here in conversation with folks who are actually doing what they're supposed to do on the ground, right? So, Atul and Ranjeet, thank you so much for sparing time to come and be in conversation with us. Very interesting topics, and I know AI for society is quite close to my heart. And the way I look at it is a little philosophical, wherein the way all of us are living today, intrinsically or extrinsically connected to technology at the hip. I think nobody can deny that even our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers and grandfathers, if they're still alive, are stuck to their WhatsApp or their phone or their smartphone, and we're connected to technology in a way that we had never ever imagined before. I cannot imagine now how I was kind of shopping without the Amazon Fresh coming my way before the pandemic, right? So life has changed so much for us these last 2 years that we have become it is the true human plus machine context. And if that's the case, I think what technology can do for social good is just amazing. And I'm part of this amazing foundation. I just had a conversation this week, and I can't, if you get the biggest foundation on the earth, but I was with them and saying, how can we actually do 2 things for the society? One is increase digital literacy in government, and second is be able to adapt more of technology to people who are not even aware of it. So with that, I think AI for society is very, very relevant in our times. AI was used a lot during COVID times to predict where the next wave was come. I don't know, I wouldn't start arguing about the accuracy of the predictions, but we did try, right? We didn't have ground truth, we had the training data to go about at it, but we did try. But I think what you both are doing is amazing, and I'm sure it is to your heart's calling. So I'd like to hear about your journeys from 2 perspectives. One is, of course, why did you start this startup? Why did you want to do something of your own that was different from the rest of the world, and why that journey came into being? And second is, talk about AI and how it's helping through that process. So Ranjeet, I'll start with you first, if you can go, please.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Gopali, and rest of the team for having me here. Talking about the journey, I'll give you a brief background. I come from typical software development background, and but most of my career I have done startups. So had done 2 startups before this with 1 successful exit, both in collaboration with somebody in US. And when I was looking for something new to do for my 3rd startup, we encountered this problem. I talked with a very senior road maintenance official, and I asked him, boss, is there any problem of yours which we can solve? And he gave me this problem statement that India is the 2nd largest road network in the world. We have crores of kilometers of roads. So after every monsoon, how do authorities find out where the potholes are? There is literally no way of doing that. And so because there is no tool available, these guys have to come back to us as public and ask us to take a picture and upload to them. But till that time, damage is already done. So what can we do proactively to gather this data and and make some sensible proactive decisions, which we thought was a fantastic problem statement because first of all, it's a very innovative concept or requirement what we have, and secondly, it's a possible business, for profit business, which also has a huge social impact because that can actually help reducing traffic accidents and increasing road safety. So yeah, so that's our journey in a bit.
Amazing. I think in Mumbai it would really help. I live in Mumbai and potholes galore all over. So definitely helps. So has it been deployed, Ranjeet, just as a follow-on in any of the cities, and is it being used?
Oh yeah, we did a small project in Mumbai as well 2 years back, where we digitized most of the contract roads in Mumbai, and we are working on the next phase. But we are operating in multiple states in India right now, and in Singapore as well. So Singapore government funded us to build a small robot which can capture road condition at shorter distances because they have different problems, and also doing some pilots in US at this moment. But so far, commercially, we have done work for more than 60,000 kilometers, which is the first in the world in this domain.
Amazing. I'm surprised to see Singapore as potholes because you would never think a country such as that. But that's great. I'll come to challenges later. I will hear from Atul as to what his journey has been. And Atul, why you're doing what you're doing at Staqu, please?
So basically, my background is from AI itself. I did my master's in AI from Manchester, and I worked there with Graphene Lab, which won Nobel Prize for 2010. And post that, I worked with University of Szeged as a research associate in machine learning group. So my background was in AI, but in 15, I decided to came back to India. And here we actually, we talk about India, the problem statement we are working is the security and safety part, which means they're using CCTV cameras. So why we started this is 15, of course, when, every startup founder start with some problem statement, which they find, right? So in every hour, we are having around 300 IPC crimes and 100 murders in India. And of course, this is a serious problem in the homeland security domain in India. And that is where we found our use cases. And 70% of the criminals in India are repetitive. That means they are creating the data which is repetitive in nature. They are going to jail, coming out on the bail, and then they're again doing a crime. So that kind of a data, when it stuck to us, we found, okay, this is something which can be solved using AI. Of course, we are putting CCTV camera everywhere. If you go with the data, you'll find out we have more number of CCTV cameras than the overall human population on Earth. But these cameras are very dumb. They are not doing anything unless you don't put any AI on the top. So this is where we started our journey. We started working with the police forces first. So we are working with 9 state police forces in catching criminals and terrorists. So far, we have identified 10,000 criminals, 10,000 plus criminals actually, and 8 terrorist module. We also won national award for our this product called Jarvis, which is working on all the CCTV cameras in real time with the police forces and intelligence agencies in the country, and helping them to nab those criminals who already being have done some crime in the past, and their data is with them. So in that way, we are helping around 45 lakh criminal record monitoring in real time. So this is something we started. Of course, we further modified our technology to work with different private sector companies also to provide them safety and other retail analytics for retail and manufacturing companies using the same camera which is already there. So no need to put any new hardware or any anything new. Just put a software on this internet on the camera and start using our technology. So this is how we started, and this is the problem statement we are working. The security, safety, and operations optimization using CCTV cameras is our problem statement we are working with, and this is how we are also solving the social problem of the security in India. So and now we are also expanding ourselves outside India. We started with Dubai Police. So yeah, this is our journey.
So have any criminals been caught using your technology?
We have caught, as I said, 10,000 plus criminals in India. 8 terrorist module got busted recently in one of the very prominent case in Punjab, our technology being used. So, of course, we are being used by all the police forces across the country. We can start with Punjab, UP, Rajasthan, Bihar, Haryana, Telangana. All these states are using our technology in that way. And this is something which is actually needed for the society, because if we start feeling fearful in the night on the road, that means we are having some problem. And the problem is not just because police force. We have just 200 police force on per lakh population, which is very less, right? So this is why, somehow you need technology, and that is where we are helping using CCTV cameras. Like, you can identify a criminal, you can find out a violence, you can find an intrusion, you can find a overcrowded space if suddenly there's a crowd increase somewhere, or protest kind of a thing. So this is something we are trying. Number plate recognition for theft vehicle. So we are doing multiple things. The same camera which was there. We are not asking any fancy camera to be installed. So this is how we are into this particular system, and using AI for solving those problems.
So Atul, it's interesting because now you're in the business of identifying humans, right? And that's always a very fine line between the truth versus what's not true, right? The probabilistic, it almost has to be a rules engine type outcome, a yes or no in such a case, right? Because if at the end of this call, you might want to call me a criminal, but I truly am not, right? I'm just trying to ask you questions for this session. But so how do you deal with that? Because I think that's been a big debate. And
yeah, of course, there are a couple of things. One is, of course, people also talk about the privacy part, because the question you might not be asking, but privacy and the security are having very fine line, because when you start monitoring, so what we did when we started creating this solution, right? We bound it to the only criminal data, and when we say criminal data, those are the criminals who have been designated criminal from the court. So in that way, we are not anywhere, you can't add any citizen-centric data to the Jarvis or our solution to do their monitoring. This is the first thing. And when we say this, we have to, basically, it is all on the paper. So when they have bought the solution, they have to first get it signed from the DCP or SSP of this district to add any criminal on this. So it is a signed paper. Then only you can add any person of interest on Jarvis to track him across the city or anywhere. So that is how we started with. And so this is how we are preserving the privacy part. And in terms of the AI accuracy and all, so we are taking bimodal data. So when you do, let's say, any prediction, so when you take one kind of a data, let's say video or image, that might have one kind of a biasness. But in our case, we're using audio, video, both. So let's say we have also another technology where your audio is also being utilized. So whether you speak Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, French, any language, so our technology will identify with your voice sample. We have two research papers in ICAST and InterSpeech, where we prominent research conference where Facebook and Google kind of a companies publish their papers, and we are one of the best in the basically benchmark called voxelay. So our accuracy is 98.2%, which is one of the best so far in the world in terms of the benchmarking on voxelay. Paper got accepted also in the conference. So this is something that also utilizing along with the face in terms of identifying those criminals who are looting a jewelry shop or who might be meeting someone in the jail for planning the next crime. So that is where the camera's audio is also being utilized. This is the first time this is being done anywhere, because mostly the BMS or the camera which are there, they are being used only for monitoring the feed. In our case, we are also using to capture the audio along with the feed to make it more accurate. So this is how we are further adding the bimodal kind of data and to make it more accurate for our scenario. And of course, preserving the privacy in a way that we have the whole legal contract in a way that, those kind of things should also be preserved where the citizen-centric privacy is there.
I'll get back to you on why you named it Jarvis. Interesting to know that story, but we'll go back to Ranjeet. Ranjeet, challenges, right? And I know data can be one of the biggest challenges. And a similar question to Atul in terms of accuracy. I know you're not dealing directly with tagging humans to be criminal or not, but it is an important aspect of the space that you are in, right? So what have been the challenges? Has it been data? Has it been the modeling? It has been the adaptability of it? And how did you overcome them, please?
Yeah. Okay. Well, great question. There were two major challenges, if I have to name a few. One on the technical side, obviously. Okay, so what we do is we don't do vision AI, visual AI. We capture the vehicle vibrations when you are driving your car. So we basically pick up the phone vibrations, and based on the vibration, we profile the road on which you are driving the car. Now, every car has different vibration patterns, tire pressure, your cell phone sensor frequency. There are so many different parameters that to come up with a centralized database with a common, one single source of truth. So the calibration of the software and the model was the most difficult part on the technology side. And there was no other alternative than doing hard work and working with huge amount of data and coming up with that final golden thing, the golden car model, as we love to call it, which could give us the right result after processing it in the majority of the cars. So that was on the technology side. On the business side, we are working with potholes on the roads. So government is always a stakeholder, and none of us had an experience with working with government. But I definitely have to mention here, I mean, although we were not politically connected, we didn't know how to work with government officials, but we could break through that challenge. And now most of our business actually comes through either directly from government or through government influence through private parties. And I definitely have to mention that things are changed so much recently that working with government is not really a taboo anymore. That's what I can tell from my experience. People are more receptive. They are more open for innovation. Startup India has paved some really good policies using which you can pitch for an innovative solution for mundane problems. And so that was a fantastic experience what we had.
That's amazing. And I've heard about this. I've been working with NASSCOM, so through the grapevine, heard about it. But amazing that 75 years, it's a nice kind of gift back to India to say that, India has arrived and India can actually, it is not a back office technology center, and we're actually innovating to help our own country. So super amazing, right, Ranjeet? So interesting in the way, because I assumed that it was going to be vision that you would use for the potholes, but I understand why not. But there would be obviously false positives in the data, right? And how would you deal with that? So did you use like Atul used both vision and speech together, right, to kind of come up with the right solution? So what other supplementary data points did you use? And again,
I mean, we kind of addressed these issues more strategically because, I mean, the first thing was to accept that visual-based AI would definitely result in false. I mean, the accuracy rate would be lower in the right words because you have to see the problem to identify the problem. So let's say if I'm driving my car and there is another car in front of me, which is on the pothole, I won't be able to see it. When there is water on the road, I won't be able to see it. Right. So how do you come up with most accurate? So strategically, we decided going ahead with vibration as our data source instead of vision, which proved to be the right choice since the beginning. And secondly, we do differentiate between our data. Like there is an official data set and then there is a crowdsourced data set. Because quite honestly, let's say if you have our application, you are driving on a road, if you see a pothole, you will try to avoid the pothole. You will not go through the pothole, right? So when we provide certain specific services to government, smart cities, where we help them identify the potholes, we actually conduct our own surveys. We do our operations by ourselves. We drive our own cars in a closed environment. And that's where people are trained to go through the pothole. And then there is a second crowdsourced thing, which has lesser accuracy, but that has different business applications than this business application.
Correct. And one last question on this particular follow-up is what's the action thereof? So yes, you identify the potholes, but what after that? Are we catching the criminals that Atul is catching to say, you're kind of, leaving money and not putting the money to fill those potholes? So is there a kind of, are we kind of closing the loop that way?
It's easy for us to say that it's not our responsibility, but we don't say that. We become part of the process where pothole is a layman term. We actually calculate certain scientific data, which is accepted and required by government to accept certain road quality. So, for instance, many of the roads in Mumbai, for example, they are under contract period, and the road contractor is supposed to be maintaining those roads properly. Then only they get paid. But right now, there is no verification because there is no tool. So we introduce our verification mechanism so that only those contractors who are doing the right job will get paid, and those who are missing something need to do some rework, and then they can get benefited from the system.
Wonderful. So that is actually then closing the loop and making things better going forward, right?
Absolutely.
That's great. Going back to you, Atul, I'll ask two questions in one shot to both of you, the last questions. But why Jarvis is what you named?
So, of course, I mean, we are inspired by Marvel. I mean, I can't hide this fact.
I kind of guessed that, but I wanted that to come from you.
So, yes, I mean, Jarvis came from this Iron Man only, but of course, our Jarvis has a definition of joint AI research for visual instances in a stream. So, this is how we define it. But the overall idea is to make it more smart in terms of capturing both audio, video data, and you can also query with the Jarvis like this number plate vehicle is where. So it will also search it and give you the result. So we are making it more interactive in a manner that Jarvis respond using the cameras. They can see it, and with the audio data, they can respond it to you. So we are building such kind of a technology when we are saying Jarvis. So we actually try to meet the same kind of a thing which Iron Man has done in Marvel. But on a serious note, of course, the whole idea is to create something which actually add value to the end society. Facial recognition is, of course, one of the things, but we further added like the activity of detection, like someone is fighting. Can my camera identify someone is screaming or someone is fighting in that way, right? Or let's say there's an intrusion happening, there's a fire happens. So we don't need a fire detector or something. Your camera is the most powerful sensor, right? We send cameras to the other part of the planet to capture something. And we are having so many cameras on Earth, but we're not utilizing in the right manner. So this is something, the idea is to make those cameras, those dumb cameras smarter is something, is our motto, is our thing. And in that way, the name Jarvis fit because it's a, you can say it's a synonym of intelligence. So that's the name actually.
Ranjeet, any cool names up your sleeves for your robo blocker or whatever you would like to call it, or you're happy with what you have right now?
Tesseract.
Maybe.
Sorry.
So
sorry, was that a question for me? I'm sorry.
Yes, Ranjeet. Is there any other cool names up your sleeve for your product?
Well, I mean, we do have certain interesting name, like the product we launched in Singapore. It's branded as IRIS, IRIS, which also stands for International Roughness Index Inspection System. So yeah, but we are very happy with RoadBounce. I mean, very simple to understand.
Cool. So I'll summarize with this one last question, and you can get as philosophical as possible or not. But where do you think AI is headed, right? And in the society that we live in, I'm probably in our lifetimes, we'll see it more as a human plus machine kind of interaction. And some of it in these use cases, I think it's quite powerful in terms of how it's being used, right? But Atul, for you, it's still going to be human plus machine. I'm hoping we're just not going to let the AI system detect criminals and get away with that, right?
Of course.
Ranjeet, for you, it could potentially be on its own. And I think we've lost Ranjeet for a couple of seconds. But your closing thoughts, Atul, on where you think AI is headed as a technology, and then of course in the context of the society we live in and the humans we are hoping to evolve.
So basically, I mean, AI is moving towards the more in automation manner where you are basically integrating multiple kind of data points. Like we were working with one mode of data, like someone is working the image, so he is just using the image to classify the scene, or video to classify the scene. Someone is working in the NLP, so he's just capturing the NLP thing and doing something. So now the AI is working in a way where you are basically collecting all these three type of data. In our case, in Jarvis also, like we are collecting audio, we are also speaking to Jarvis, giving them the command and all. So in that way, the NLP part, the video part, the audio part, all is getting captured. So this is where any kind of AI is moving, not for us, for any other companies also, right? Like people are amalgamating all these three different kind of data points to create some kind of a sense. So this is how the AI is going to be more powerful. And second new thing is happening, like, for example, you said, right, sometimes you have to create the data to train the system, right? But you're always not having the data. For example, violence. You want to train your system for violence, but you'll not be having the violence data every time, right? So that is where the AI is having a capability to create those kind of a data to train itself, like the generative adversarial network which are coming there. So we are working on those kind of a thing, and that is good actually. In that way, you will not need always a real-time data for training the system. The AI can create the data to learn for itself. So this is another powerful. And in the end, of course, like because you're working in a very different area, so I always say, because this whole AI or anything or any technology, this thing is always a neutral phenomenon, right? So it's us as a human who make it negative or positive. So it's from Newton's law to today's AI, right? It's on us, like how we're going to use, but this is how the technology grew. So technology is neutral. It's a human intention how it is going to use it. Our intention is very sober and very. I mean, very, you can say, the pious in way that you want to use for the betterment of the society, help them to make it more secure and safer for anyone, not only for any normal police work, but for everyone, right? So this is how we are taking ourselves.
Thank you. Thanks, Atul. And I think I really loved what you said in terms of, what is the intention? What is the human intention to use the technology? And I think that's very important. It latches back into our ethics conversation. I think it's still a conversation. People are having it all over the world. And I'm sure India is going to be at the thick of it very soon. But over to you, Ranjeet. I know we lost you for a couple of minutes there, but your closing thoughts on where you think AI as a technology is headed, and how it's going to, help or deter humans, going forward. I know what you are doing is amazing, and yours is more like independent than a human plus machine. So it's more like an independent use case, right? But what are your thoughts generally on, where you think a technology such as AI is headed, and where do you think the line should be drawn, if at all?
That's an interesting question. Probably I'm not the right, candidate to answer this philosophically, which can also, make sense. But, personally, I'm a strong believer of the Isaac Asimov science fictions, and I still believe that the world is moving ahead as he thought it would. AI or any other technology, I mean, it's just a tool. When it comes to destroying humanity, it will probably be the humans themselves who will come first.
Correct.
So I mean, the future is bright. I guess it will be a fantastic technology which can ease a lot of regular problems what we face nowadays, and it will definitely open up new problems because it will open up new possibilities as well.
Beautifully said. I think, yes, humans could possibly be our own destroyers, but I'd kind of like to conclude on a positive note. I think awesome stories. I am stoked by what I heard. I think just the fact that you both are following your heart and doing the thing that you want and actually affecting people's lives. You're high up there on my list of people to look up to, and really making a difference every day. So thank you for sharing your stories. It was a wonderful conversation. I hope you both had a lot of fun. I definitely did, and would definitely like to connect with both of you, even otherwise, to understand your journey as well. So thank you, Atul and Ranjeet.
Thank you, Gopali.
Thanks a lot, Gopali,
for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. And over to you, Justin.
Thank you, Gopali, for chairing that candid session and bringing the narrative of making AI real. And thank you, of course, Atul and Ranjeet, for sharing your fruitful insights with us.